cooperation in the face of international uncertainty. The presidents of Mexico and the U.S. joined Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on Parliament Hill today. And together, they confronted the global fight against terrorism in the aftermath of the Istanbul airport attack, as well as the unfolding impact of Brexit on North American trade. The Three Amigos Summit, as it's called, championed the freedom of open borders, inclusion, and clean energy. But it was Obama's address to Parliament that was clearly the main event. CTV's Joyce Napier has more.
An enthusiastic welcome, but is that even surprising? He may still be a controversial figure back home, and he is effectively a lame duck president, but to many Canadians, he is an admired politician with uncanny comic timing.
Thank you for this extraordinary welcome, which tempts me to just shut up and leave. Because they can't get any better than this.
A 48-minute speech interrupted by roaring applause and standing ovations, Barack Obama was in his element.
Canada was the very first country that I visited as president. It was in February. It was colder. I was younger. Michelle now refers to my area as the Great White North. And on that visit, I strolled around the Byward Market, tried a beaver tail, which is better than it sounds.
But his speech was not all laughs, and the president touched on many uncomfortable issues, from the benefits of free trade to terrorism to the LGBT and Muslim communities, and yes, even a slight dig about Canada's role in NATO.
It won't be more secure when every NATO member, including Canada, contributes its full share to our common security. The Canadian Armed Forces are really good. And if I can borrow a phrase, the world needs more Canada. NATO needs more Canada. We need you.
For those 48 minutes in the House of Commons, he was the Barack Obama of the Hope and Change days, an unapologetic liberal who dares to promise ISIS will be destroyed.
We'll work with partners around the world, including, particularly, Muslim communities, to offer a better vision, a path of development, and opportunity, and tolerance, because they are and must be our partners in this effort.
And the president, who will now campaign for Hillary Clinton, had this to say about women's rights.
Our work won't be finished until all women in our country are truly paid equally, treated equally.
His audience was thrilled. Perhaps many of his statements were self-evident truths, but it was a classic Obama feel-good speech.
Officials in Ottawa say there are no reports of any Canadian casualties in yesterday's attack at an Istanbul airport, but the death toll from the suicide bombing has now risen to 41. New video emerged this morning showing passengers rushing away from the scene of the deadly attack. 3 suicide bombers were discovered at the entrance. Officials say 10 foreign nationals were dead. Each victim has dual citizenship. So far, no one. That rattled in the Mississauga neighborhood yesterday is just beginning. As Sean Lee reports, fire officials are now searching for the fuel that caused the blast.
As the investigation into this massive explosion begins, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office must first determine one key piece.
Our job right now is to identify what the fuel was that caused the explosion and how it got in there, and that process will take some time.
The perimeter is about a half kilometer in all directions, with evidence literally covering the ground.
We're not anywhere near the epicenter of this investigation. We're working on the peripherals, working our way in.
A team of 4 investigators and 2 fire protection engineers have today been working from the outside in, and they're still half a block from ground zero. And as the investigation moves slowly, the Ontario Fire Marshal's Office says they could be here well into the weekend. Meanwhile, questions are swirling about the nature of those notes found inside the debris field. Peel Police would not speak to the nature of the notes, saying that they're open to where the evidence takes them.
So that's what we're working on, identifying the paperwork and trying to match it to the right addresses.
A number of residents report finding the handwritten notes scattered through the neighborhood, and there is clear value to police.
We're not specifying what's on the paper, what the documents are. We're just asking that if you do find something, please turn them over.
Investigators have said that their investigation is not criminal at this time. There is no evidence to call homicide detectives, and they are not looking for any suspects. Sean Thong, CTV News, Toronto.
Well, Canada Day is just around the corner, and no doubt many are planning their own fireworks display. But for folks in Norfolk County, they'll have to find other ways to celebrate. Scott Miller has more on why the community is banning the use of fireworks this year.
Whether it's brown lawns or bone-dry fields, the signs of lack of rain are everywhere.
It's the first weekend of official summer start, and it is right there.
Canada's wildfire information system shows a lot of moderate risk for wildfire in yellow across the region, including extreme risk in parts of Perth, Oxford, and Middlesex County. Officials in Norfolk County have gone so far with their burn ban to put a ban on fireworks. Other communities like Howell Township and Bruce Peninsula also have partial burn bans for this long weekend. Everyone else is simply asking people to try and limit all outdoor flame.
And we're asking everybody to be very careful of their fires, campfires, and open burns. We're sort of discouraging open burns right now because of the dry time.
Many fire officials are discouraging backyard fireworks this weekend. In London, they believe the chance for an accidental fire due to consumer fireworks is higher than usual because of the extremely dry conditions.
Right now, the shrubbery and vegetation is extremely dry, and it's it can catch fire very quickly, and it will spread very quickly as well. A lot of people don't realize how fast these types of fires can spread. They can spread much faster than you or I could run.
A handful of provincial parks have fire restrictions, but really few fire bans. But like fire officials, they'll be watching.
We just make sure it's not unattended, and if it's getting out of control, we have water on site.
It's a common sense thing. It is dry. Be very cautious. It's our weekend also, and we're totally out fighting fires if we don't have to.
In Midwestern Ontario, Scott Miller, CTV News.
Well, some movement this week in the budget dispute between the London Police Services Board and City Hall. In an effort to avoid a costly and divisive appeal to the province, the police board has sent a new budget proposal to council for consideration. Daryl Newcomb has the details.
The reason we're sharing through the media is we want to make sure that council has an opportunity to receive the proposal and vet it.
The London Police Services Board's Paul Pilato using an unusual line of communication during a budget dispute, the media. He tells CTV News a one-page budget proposal was sent earlier this week to senior City Hall staff via their lawyer, and he wants to ensure this time councillors see it. He claims in the spring a tentative compromise reached between himself and the city treasurer, Martin Hayward, never made it to council.
It does emulate a lot of the same principles that Mr. Hayward and I agreed to initially. Again, the language is a little firmer this time because there has been a bit of an erosion of trust between the two parties.
Councillor Bill Armstrong welcomes the potential for a resolution and is among the councillors who have demanded to know who at City Hall kept council in the dark about the previous compromise.
Any other offers that came forward should have made it through the council for us to discuss. So that's sort of a concern from the past, but we're going to deal with it today and we're going to move forward.
In a text to CTV News, the mayor's communications advisor says he has yet to see the proposal. Of course, he was absent from last week's police board meeting because of his self-imposed leave of absence. This morning, a pre-hearing was held at City Hall to lay out timelines for the appeal to the Ontario Civilian Police Commission. The appeal is a rarely used trump card, last played by the Guelph Police Board 15 years ago to appeal the amount budgeted by council. London police are seeking an additional $4.1 million over 4 years, plus a written assurance to cover an estimated $3.3 million market value adjustment contained in the police contract. Pilato says the new proposal is an attempt to avoid the costly and divisive appeal process.
The proposal is actually very responsible and is, in working with Mr. Hayward, one of the benefits of that is he has a very good idea of what he can afford to do, and so we want to be respectful of that throughout the process. And it'd be awful helpful if council began its deliberation of our proposal with him in the room.
Armstrong says now that councillors are aware of the proposal, thanks to CTV News, he expects city staff to bring it forward for consideration soon.
It's important that there be a professional relationship between the police department and the city council as a whole.
Darryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Well, the first of the London crosswalks dedicated to honoring the LGBT community has been installed. The Rainbow Crosswalk in Dundas Street on Ontario Street in the Old East Village. The location was chosen as the starting point of the Pride Parade each year. Now, a second crosswalk location in front of City Hall at Dundas Wellington is also scheduled for a rainbow makeover. Well, hooray! Last day of school for most elementary school students in our region, but at one school it was a particularly emotional day. Students and teachers took their final walk down the halls of Lorna Public School this afternoon. After 141 years, the school is closing for good due to low enrollment. The closure comes after a long fight to save the school. For many students and staff, it's a bittersweet farewell to a building that holds many memories.
It was just really depressing because there's so many people here and like friends and stuff, you know, like don't cry again.
There's an emerging sense of adventure.
Like you kind of become attached to the school and your friends, and like you're going to a different school and you don't even know what's gonna happen.
Ahead on CTV News. The story of Ontario wind farms and how movement in the air may be disturbing the water table below the ground.
Advanced basement systems, crawl space repairs, 2,000